Okay. What is today? Today is the 9th of June. It is a Monday. I'm all turned around. I just got back from my much needed vacation. Picked a hell of a week to take off. And where me and Chris are in an extremely echoey conference room in Chris's building. And Chris is going to attempt to catch me up on everything I missed. I was very motivated, committed to not looking at a single thing having to do with Worcester the entire time I was gone. I think I did a pretty good job. Because I only know the very basics of what seems like an insane week. Chris, I'm excited to have you fill me in.
Yeah. You picked a good week to go away. I picked a bad week to stop sniffing glue. Yeah, it was a hell of a week. As folks who weren't vacationing in the Outer Banks know, I'm very happy you got to take that trip, and slightly jealous.
Yeah, it was really, really sick. It was very, very fun to hang out in Republican Cape Cod. It's a fun place. The tap water tastes like somebody poured gasoline in it. And constantly F-15s and 16s are flying overhead because there's a military base over there. And they're running drills all the time. But I did see some really cool like World War II era helicopters and like bomber planes. So that was sick.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, man, you're bringing me back years ago, probably close to 20 years ago at this point. I went to Bonnaroo once, and I would never fucking ever go back without an RV and a VIP pass and lots of things that make being in a field in Tennessee in June a little more livable. But the thing I remember the most about it is it was so fucking hot and you had to drink so much water, and you can drink the groundwater there, but it is loaded with sulfur. So your water smells somewhere between like match heads and farts.
Oh God.
It's fine to drink, it's safe, but boy, it does not smell or taste very good.
Oh God. Yeah. You know those like incessant Camp Lejeune ads that like everyone gets? It's like, you're entitled to financial compensation because it's like the most contaminated place in the country. That's like right there. That's like right on the Outer Banks. So. Yeah.
Luckily things don't get into groundwater and then just kind of escape containment and go everywhere and give everybody horrible diseases. But hopefully you weren't there long enough to get one.
No, it's okay. I think that my exposure, I got a half-life. I'll make it.
Yeah. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, shit, man. Yeah. I guess we could start at the beginning. I will say I missed the Standout for Etel, which we will talk about. I was coming back in from Boston. I was out there for work for a rally for David Huerta, who people might be familiar with at this point. David Huerta is the head of the SEIU of California, which is a fucking massive labor union. They have 750,000 members just in California. And David was arrested it's pretty well documented, simply just observing all of the fuckery that is happening with ICE in LA right now. He was assaulted and battered. He was thrown to the ground. He hit his head. He had to go to the hospital. And when he got out of the hospital, he was detained by federal agents. So there was a big rally out in Boston today, including primarily a bunch of the labor unions in Massachusetts, which is why I was there, demanding David Huerta's freedom. And demanding the freedom of everyone who has been kidnapped by ICE. I am happy to say that we have accomplished one of those goals. As of about an hour ago, David Huerta was freed on bond.
Oh, good.
So
good.
he is no longer in a cage. But we got to keep working on getting everybody else out. But yeah, Bill, you were over at the rally for Etel, I think.
Yeah. I just got back from that.
Yeah, how was it?
It was
we'll talk
awesome.
about our charges and stuff next, but
Yeah, no, I would say it was awesome. It was really nice to swoop in on the story at that sort of, I don't know. It was a really wholesome, nice get together of a lot of very cool people. I would say that there was 200 to 250 people at the Newton Square Rotary. People holding signs for Etel, ringing all the way around and on the inside. A lot of love from people driving by. One very, very, very angry rabbi. I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to do and confirm his name, but he's the rabbi that remember when Mo Bergman had a rabbi put out a statement on his behalf?
yep.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna
that
have
guy.
his name here.
Yeah, it was that guy. He was driving his car like tight around the inner circle, either filming people or showing people a video, and then he was driving very slowly the whole way around the outer circle too. And at one point, it looked like he was going to crash into some people. And everyone was just kind of telling him to get lost and telling him that he was driving like a crazy person, because he was making what's already a pretty dangerous intersection at rush hour on a weekday, much more dangerous, just to call people communists and terrorists or whatever. But that was the only sort of sore spot on an event that was otherwise full of love. I got to talk to Etel, talked to Robin Kennedy, Mary Keefe, Christian King, and Oliver Chadwick, who people.
Oh, hell yeah!
People
That's
who
right.
people who watch the Worcester Council Theater 3000 stream will know Oliver. He's a prolific City Hall commentator, and oh, dude, how could I forget about this? Actually, I was a little late coming over here because I had to upload my tape from the event just to pull a few clips. I talked to Andrew Marsh. Andrew Marsh, my favorite interviewee of all time. I have never had more fun interviewing a guy.
Andrew never misses, man.
Dude, he just straight up doesn't miss.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So, what do you make of these charges being pressed on her a couple weeks after the fact here from the Worcester Police Department?
Dude just puts his thumb up in the air like this, thumb down, and just goes.
Drops the old Bronx cheer.
So sick. He also he had a. He came up to me sort of as the event was winding down and told me that he got into a. Well, I'll just let him. My recorder was still running, so I'll let him tell.
I was going over finances with my mom the other night, and when she saw the transaction item for like my subscription to your Substack,
Yeah.
Shaner subs, she thought it was a sandwich shop.
Bill Shaner subs?
Yeah.
She thought it was a sandwich shop?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Anyway, yeah, that was Andrew Marsh, always a delight. I plan on doing a little like sort of edit of some of the interviews and the footage, because there was a lot of cool stuff there. Too much to do for today, but maybe we'll see a little OC dispatch later in the week. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was great, and everyone to a person, talking to them on the record, and the remarks privately weren't too much different. Everyone's just sort of like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why did the WPD do this? Like 3 weeks after the fact, after they had already blinked quietly, like they were threatening it in the beginning, they didn't do it. And then they let a couple weeks go by. They let ICE blink on doing it. Leah Foley blinks on doing it. and then they do it? Like, what the what? Why? It's so stupid.
Yeah. So, we should rewind and talk a little bit about, first of all, the charges that dropped. So,
Right.
I found out, I think, on Monday. It came out publicly on Wednesday when Etel was arraigned. But after almost a month, the Worcester police decided to charge Etel with a few crimes. They charged her, I think initially they tried to get her charged with 2 counts of assault and battery on a police officer, and then 1 count of obstructing an officer. I think through the course of the arraignment, one of those assault charges was not advanced by the clerk magistrate, which is actually notable because that's not. It's kind of an indictment situation. Like, they can indict a ham sandwich,
Right?
And I did not expect that to happen. But yeah, Etel's still facing 1 charge of assault and battery on a police officer and a charge of obstructing. And yeah, I think everyone was. I mean, I think we all know why.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually have sort of a real answer to that question. And then our good friend and former interviewee on this show, Tom Marino, came out with a hell of an article in This Week in Worcester, which we will link. The title of that article, Union Leader Threatened Police Chief If Counselor Not Charged. To hear Tom tell it, the way it played out was that law enforcement, quote unquote, wanted potentially to see federal charges from Leah Foley at the district attorney's office, the U.S. district attorney's office. And they decided not to charge Etel. And she informed the chief of police that there was a lack of evidence to charge Etel.
Leah Foley did.
Yes, Leah Foley did. 2 days later, squash that, take it out. Then we have word from Tom, who we should say, when you see this article, you will see that there are a lot of unnamed, anonymous sources. And I think the thing that we should qualify, or I would like to qualify, is that we know Tom. We've talked to Tom extensively on the show and otherwise. And we have a pretty good idea of Tom and the sources that he has inside of the police department. Cops talk to Tom. Who are not thrilled with the way things are going over at 9-11 Lincoln Square.
And that's the only. So I think you're saying that in anticipation of a criticism of the story being that it was anonymously sourced. That's the only way anyone can source any story anymore. It's career suicide for anybody within any public bureaucracy to put their name to a statement or even an idea or even give an indication that they've talked to the press without the official sign-off of the city manager. I mean, like whoever is the head of any bureaucracy. In this case, the city manager. The city manager of Worcester has a very clear policy that every communication with the press has to go through his communications office. This seemingly does not apply to Paul Saucier and Thomas Duffy. And those might be the only non-elected city employees for which the rules are bent on that. Anybody else risks a lot by going to the press. So
Yeah, and so we find out that the union leader that allegedly pressed 4 charges against Etel is none other than much discussed member of the police department and president of NEBPA Local 911, the Patrolmen's Union, Thomas Duffy. Or as we have referred to him, or Bill originally referred to him as what's his name?
Vic Mackey.
The Vic Mackey of Worcester.
Cue the Shield intro music. Just another day. Yeah. He really is. I've done a lot of research. I've done my research. I have looked into this guy. He's a very bad man. You could not find a more cartoonishly corrupt police officer than one Thomas Duffy. Like the Shield is like it's a perfect example of the way that reality has been outpacing satire, because the Shield in the early 2000s was very good satire of American policing, and Thomas Duffy, some of the stuff is funnier than anything the Shield could have written. Some of the stuff in his some of the skeletons in his closet, you know.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I've been just doing little spot rewatches of The Shield because we've been talking about it. I need to actually watch the whole thing. Aaron, I don't think, has ever seen it, but it's a fantastic show, and it is also kind of, I think, intentionally almost borderline outlandish,
right?
In the brazen corruption that it portrays, but actually it just really wound up being ahead of its time in that regard.
Yeah.
Like it all came true in a way that I'm not even sure the folks who imagined it could have possibly anticipated. But yeah, so to outline it, what we find out is that Thomas Duffy apparently went to the chief. There was some screaming. And the chief was told that if Etel was not charged criminally by the Worcester Police Department, that the support for the police chief, our new, we should say, police chief, from the union would disappear, that they would not back the police chief. This is confirmed, according to Tom Marino, by a captain at the police department, as well as one of the deputy chiefs. There are 4, as well as other members of the police department. There are several people who spoke to Tom Marino, the good Tom, on condition of anonymity about this story, and they all had the same story. Right. It is, I will say, like, that nothing has felt more spiritually true than this accounting.
I was going to say, so a bunch of people sent me a link to this story, and I was a very good boy. I didn't open it. I have not read it yet, in part because I wanted to save it for this. But this is a lot of sourcing to confirm something that just sounds like a fucking regular Tuesday. for Thomas Duffy, you know what I mean? Like this is, and Thomas Duffy has been making very, very pointed statements for weeks about how he wants to see Etel get charged. The only other 2 people who were charged in Eureka Street were charged the day of, because that's how it usually works. The fact that Thomas Duffy has been making public statements demanding consequences for Etel, whatever his language is, interfering with law enforcement activity or whatever he says. He's been making that for weeks, and then suddenly the police announced charges, and we have 4 people by, I would say, probably our best sourced like police reporter in the city, all confirming a very specific and believable situation. I mean, what else are we to make of this?
Yeah.
So, Chris, fill me in. What comes next? Do the police own up to it? Do they say, yes, that's true, we were pressured by our union into pressing charges on an elected official in the city?
You might think that, but that's not how it went down. So yeah, first, I'm glad you brought that point up. I have spent longer than I would have otherwise because of my work life closer to the criminal legal system than for a longer time than I ever would have wanted to otherwise. And a true thing is that, generally speaking, indictments and charges after an incident do happen. However, they almost always happen when and because no police were there to witness the alleged crime. Nothing could be further from the truth than what happened on Eureka Street, where there was a million fucking cops and there was also a million bystanders with a million cameras going. We have seen, there is ample footage of everything that happened that day of import.
Oh, did they release more footage in support of the charge?
I have not seen any more footage released.
Because the footage that's the first 3 videos that were released, like, if that's what we're going off of, I've watched all of those like 5 times at least.
Yeah.
Show me the frame of that video that supports an assault charge.
Yeah. Yep. I also think it's interesting that the officer, the charge that stuck for assault is on a female officer who is not 2 feet taller than Etel.
The moment where that officer like pushes her,
yeah,
extremely hard.
Yeah, that appears to be the one.
Oh my God. They chose the moment where Etel is most obviously getting assaulted to press an assault charge on Etel.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Jesus.
So, Bill, I regret to inform you that what the Worcester police actually did on June 7th, the day after the charges were, maybe 2 days after, the day after Tom's story came out.
Yeah.
They released a statement. I will read it in full.
Okay, I'm so excited for this.
A recent article by a local online publication made several false statements and outlandish claims. 1. The article alleges that Chief Saucier asked United States Attorney Foley to file federal charges against a Worcester City Councilor, and that the U.S. Attorney declined to file charges, citing a lack of evidence. This is false. 2. After Foley informed Saucier that her office would not charge the councilor, NEPA and NEPBA 9/11 President Duffy became aware of the situation and screamed and threatened Chief Saucier. This is false. 3.
Okay, continue.
A deputy chief who requested anonymity for fear of union reprisals confirmed this to the writer and was the source of the information. This is false. All 3 of these claims are false and without merit. We demand that the writer retract them and avoid publishing lies in the future. And then it is signed by Chief Saucier, all 4 deputy chiefs, and Thomas Duffy.
Okay, so the first point, who cares? There's a million ways to be like, oh, I didn't call and ask her to do it. I was inquiring as to the status of the case, whatever.
It doesn't matter whether it's true or not.
That one doesn't matter. The third one, I'm going to need you to read to me again because there's some major cop language going on in that.
Absolutely. Number 3. A deputy chief who requested anonymity for fear of union reprisals confirmed this to the writer and was the source of the information. That is the third claim that they say is categorically false. Did you mean the one before that?
Wait, well, no, hold on. So how can they don't say the name of the captain?
They don't.
So how can they know that?
It's a very good question, Bill. How could they know that?
How can they say that for sure that it's factually inaccurate if we have an anonymous source from an unstated police union from an unstated captain in the Worcester Police Department? How many captains are there in the Worcester Police Department?
I'm sorry, deputy chief. There is a captain who. There is a captain, but there are 4 deputy chiefs. They're the ones who signed. Sorry if I said that wrong.
So all right. So I got that wrong. So we have a 1 in 4 chance that a deputy chief is either lying to cover his ass after telling Tom Marino the truth, or lied to Tom Marino in such a way that anywhere between 2 and a dozen other people were able to confirm that lie. Occam's razor time.
Yeah.
Let's play a little Occam's razor game with that one.
A thing that feels important to mention too is that when you hire internally from a nepotism system, which we do always, one of the 4 deputy chiefs previously was Paul Saucier, who became the police chief.
Right.
3 of the 4 others, and I don't remember, I think it's Sean Fleming who's the new deputy chief, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But there are 4. Kenneth Davenport, who I think's been a deputy for a while.
Yep.
Ed McGinn.
Yep.
Carl Supner, and Sean Fleming. All of those other deputy chiefs were theoretically also potentially in line for this job, and they didn't get it. Do you think it's possible that one of them might be a bit sore about that?
Yes, I think it's very possible. That's a good point. Now, which ones might be sore? Are they the 3 that contested Paul Saucier's hiring? Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Like, those 3 are named. We can play some process of elimination here.
Yeah. That's why I think Fleming is the new one, because I'm pretty sure it was Davenport, McGinn, and Supner who were openly opposed, let's say, not thrilled about the Chiefs hiring.
Yeah, right. And obviously, like, we don't need to really spend any time sussing out who Marino's source was.
Again, it doesn't matter. It could have been all of them.
The point being that lying to the reporter in a way that many other people in the police department can confirm is a Machiavellian scheme of the highest order. Telling a reporter the truth and then lying to your supervisor that you didn't tell the reporter anything is classic dumb guy behavior. A deputy captain in the nepotism system, is this a Machiavellian mastermind, or is this just kind of a dumb guy who is a little bit jilted, right? Which one do we think it is?
Yeah. Like I said, man, nothing has felt more. When I read this, I was like, of course that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, of course it is. And it's too specific and frankly silly and petty of a story to make up. And I trust Tom, but even if I just heard this as a rumor on the street, I would be like, yeah, that feels right. It does.
Well, but even if, okay, so Tom's wrong, right? Let's just that Tom got bad information, whatever. Let's explore that hypothetical, and I'm making it very clear that is a hypothetical because I think Tom was dead to rights on this. And you know, I trust him as a man who wants to get it straight, and he's not going to run with something if it's not well sourced. Even if he's wrong, what's the difference, right? Like, Thomas Duffy was publicly demanding charges for Etel for weeks. Weeks go by, and then charges happen. Like, does it? If there was no shouting match outside of the office, the overall dynamic remains the same.
A thing that I started to remember to recount and then immediately forgot is when I was talking about like how typically when there are a million police at something, if someone's going to get charged, they're going to get charged right then and there. One of the only exceptions to that I can think of actually is the Kelly Square 5. I don't know if anyone remembers the Kelly Square 5. That might have even been before your time, Bill. This is Mike Brown era. But after Mike Brown was murdered, there was a protest action in Kelly Square where a number of people took pedestrian control of the square and blocked traffic for the amount of time that Mike Brown was held on the ground while he was being murdered. And this action happened. The police, I was there, I should say that. I was there as a legal observer. I watched the whole thing happen. And 5 people were eventually charged. I'm not going to remember who all of them were. One was a good friend who's unfortunately passed, my friend Sonia Connor. One was Julius Jones, who people might know from around town. One hilariously was Kevin Cassen, who never walked into the street and was actually the police liaison that day. But what happened when we were there was a sergeant pulled up, a black sergeant. And I mention that because he was one of the ones involved with the decades-long racial discrimination suit about how we systematically failed to promote officers of color within the police department.
Right.
And he came by. He talked to us for a minute. He actually had some pretty nice things to say and was complaining about this fucking lawsuit that had dragged on forever. And then he drove away and left. And then what happened was Turtle Boy, Aidan Kearney, went on a multi-week tear about how these people needed to be charged. And then they were. 5 people, including a guy who never left the sidewalk, who was just a guy that Aidan Kearney would recognize. Like, he put 5 names in his newsletter, and those 5 people were charged.
That's
just worth a little bit of history to think about.
Wow, that's crazy. It's almost like Thomas Duffy has been using other press outlets to do the same thing that Aidan Kearney did back then with his WordPress. Mm-hmm. It's almost like Thomas Duffy has been using the Worcester Guardian in NBC Boston to just be Turtle Boy while getting paid by the city to be Turtle Boy.
Yeah. Since Turtle Boy has turned his disgusting gaze elsewhere, we now just have Thomas Duffy doing the job.
We have Thomas Duffy doing it directly. Thomas Duffy kind of looks like if you fed Aidan Kearney a rare candy. You ever think about that?
I hadn't until this moment, and man, talk about things that feel spiritually true. Yes, that is an impeccable observation.
The war turtle to Aidan Kearney's Squirtle. And it just, that's because they are like Uruk-hai from the mud. They are both born out of this nasty, terrible, rotten Central Massachusetts tradition of decrepit Irish Americans who are involved in the greater law enforcement community. Some of these people are my relatives. I am an Irish American from Central Massachusetts. I grew up in a towny community. I'm very well aware of what this kind of person is like. Thomas Duffy is one of the most elite kind of these guys.
Yes.
Like none of them will ever get charged with drunk driving in their life, but just do me a favor. I'm not going to go any further. Just Google Thomas Duffy Hamilton Street if you want to see what kind of drunk driving shenanigans you can get away with when you eat the towny Irish American Central Massachusetts rare candy. But where was I going with that? where was I going with that? I was going somewhere good with that. Hold on. See, getting back to work today, the gears were not turning for like a week, and now the gears are turning again. Yes, the gears are turning again, because Thomas Duffy is an elite, one of these kind of guys, because you have to be one of the most kind of these guys to do what his dad and him did, which is get typecast in The fucking Departed.
Yes! How did I forget to put that on the list of things we had to talk about? Here is some hot goss that came into me when I posted this Tom Marino article the day it came out. A friend of mine informed me that Thomas Duffy was an extra in The Departed. Mm-hmm. Also Shutter Island and one other movie I'd never heard of. But yeah, it looks like he was an extra for like 2 or 3 years. He had a little moment as a bit part thespian. And yeah, go ahead.
No. I was I just wanted to make sure if I had the story right here, because I only heard this in passing once, maybe like last year. Thomas Duffy and his dad, who is a like you'll never get out from the shadow of your father kind of father in the law enforcement community. So they both were in the movie and playing like a role, or maybe Thomas Duffy was in the movie playing the part of what his dad was, or something like that.
Yes.
I need to
allow me to paint a picture for you.
Okay. All right.
This is from a 2005 article in the Telegram, subtitled "Former State Police Detective from Worcester Lends a Hand to Scorsese's New Movie." Here we go. This is artistry. The red-haired Tom Duffy, his body still toned 7 months after retiring as a major in the Massachusetts State Police, playfully lifted the beach chair in which Pam Marone sat, the better for her to take in the sun on Cove Beach in the Bahamas last Valentine's Day. A stunning brunette stopped to watch. "I thought the days of chivalry were gone. Where did you get this guy?" the young woman in a brown bathing suit asked Miss Maroney, wife of Don Maroney, owner of Wachusett Country Club in West Boylston. This goes on and on.
This is a Telegram article?
This is a Telegram
article. Who's the writer?
The article, it's Lee Hamill.
Okay.
R.I.P. Not really. I don't remember much good coming out of them.
That is some crazy propaganda going on there. Talking about his toned body.
Yeah, it goes on from there to talk about how they're on vacation in the Bahamas, and his girlfriend, this is the father, Thomas Duffy.
Yeah.
His girlfriend, who was a state police sergeant, said blah, 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 blah. He got a call. And yeah, he was in The Departed, as was his son. And the thing that I had been told, and I think you had also been told separately, is that, Thomas Duffy, the junior, our Thomas Duffy, was playing a bit role based on his father.
Okay. Yeah, so that's enough to buy you a couple rounds of drinks at Cicero's.
Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah. That is enough probably to, have yourself be pretty sealed off from sort of the temperature outside of the law enforcement community. So maybe we can forgive Thomas Duffy a little bit for not understanding how badly he has given up the game for him and his ilk, right? No, I don't. That is my biggest observation taking this all in right now. Is the quiet part of local politics that no one ever says out loud because they're either benefiting from it personally or they're afraid to. Is that the police union kind of has more power than anybody, and that's why cops have ridiculous overtime, ridiculous bonuses, ridiculous base pay, and we let other city services languish on their behalf while they feed us crime stats that only loosely translate to like what a normal person would define as public safety and continue to be paid extremely handsomely.
Yeah, I think a point that you are right on top of that I think is a really important point to make in this townie dynamic is that these are not only townies who are incredibly powerful, they also have a lot of fucking money.
Right.
Like they work jobs where they make, you know, $250,000 a year with full pensions and fantastic benefits. They retire by the time they're, you know, 55 or, you know, depending on when they get in. And then they're on a pension, they're working side jobs. Like these are the people with like beach houses and boats and like lots of disposable money.
Anthony Petroni has like 4 rental properties in the Shrewsbury Street area.
Yep, they are our slumlords. They are our small business tyrants. They are our actual tyrants on the street with,
you know what else?
With guns.
I just want our dear listeners to consider who in a city would have the easiest time moving some drugs around. I just want you to think about the political reality of that. I'm not saying anything. You know, I'm just saying who's not gonna get caught.
Yeah, moving some drugs around, helping maybe restaurateurs who are moving drugs around to stash their drug money. Maybe in a church that might also be tied to someone who's now on the Human Rights Commission, et cetera, et cetera. You let your imagination go wild.
A sick little posse of mediocre townie whites. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And so Thomas Duffy, just so incensed that the WPD would be caught with its pants down here, that in a blind rage, he forces, either by screaming at the chief, as Tom Marino reported, or by his many vitriolic, hostile public statements, which is just in the public record, or more than likely a combination of both, right? He forces the WPD to do something that makes them look like little fucking pussies and is so stupid because the footage is out there. And they didn't, correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, but they didn't release like a new edit that shows the assault happening, right? So now you have the entire community able to go on YouTube, play through the footage, and be like, "Where's the assault?" Right? Where? And then now you have, because Thomas Duffy is a little piss baby. This is such a big fuck up because he's also giving up the game of cops can just slap assaulting a police officer on anybody for any reason. Etel's going to be a goddamn millionaire. I'll tell you that much.
Man, I sure hope so. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but when the article came out about the charges, there was a still image in the article of Etel standing next to a Worcester police officer who's got 2 fucking feet and probably like 150 pounds on her. Like, Etel is a small person. She is mighty, but she is small. I'm not, I'm a large person. I'm not a particularly tall person. Etel comes to like my shoulder.
Right.
She is just not a physically intimidating person. She's not physically capable of like fucking tossing around a 6-foot cop, which is, I think, maybe why they made a more strategic choice with their allegations. But yeah, I mean, I think we know what Thomas Duffy has said publicly, and it's a pretty good indication, I think, along with his storied history of what he might say privately. And he is a powerful person in this city. We've talked about it. He might be one of the most powerful people in this city. He has hundreds of patrol officers who look up to him as their leader in the union and on the job day to day. And I just believe this is the way it happened. I don't know what else would make more sense.
But let's spend a little bit of time on the game theory here. Okay, he successfully pressures a police chief who has a tentative, as Tom Marino discussed with us on the podcast episode where we had him on, like his grasp on control of the department is, it's not a sure thing. And he has to deal with this sort of internal political pressures. So he has to play ball with a guy like Thomas Duffy. So Thomas Duffy spends that political capital to get the chief to retroactively slap charges on a popular and beloved elected official in this city who is on video not assaulting police officers. What sort of play is that for Duffy? Like, this doesn't go well for him in any scenario, because even if Etel is punished to the letter of the law, which is not going to happen, these charges are assault and battery on a police officer is like one step above disorderly disturbing the peace, like in terms of like these are the charges that everyone is pretty much under the assumption that just get dropped eventually, but are slapped on for punitive purposes.
Yeah, it's a charge that sounds scary and actually doesn't mean a whole lot, that is routinely overcharged by police for a number of strategic reasons, including that overcharging is a very good tactic to get someone to take a deal, right? Like if you want to get them on 2 or 3 things, you hit them with 5 things, 2 or 3 fall off, and then that's how the baby gets split. That's how it typically goes in court. I have no sense of Etel's legal strategy, and Etel, you shouldn't tell me.
Yeah, I don't want to know Etel's legal strategy.
But, just a good tip in general. Don't tell people your legal strategy when you're in a very public legal battle.
I was actually talking to Etel today, and even privately, like after the microphone was off, I was like, "Do not tell me anything. Do not tell me a single thing about the court case. I just don't want to know." But anyway, sorry to cut you off. But
No, not at all. I mean, I was really kind of finishing my point anyway. But yeah, what I will say is Etel has retained counsel. I know who her counsel is. She has a very good attorney. And I think she will have this will be a pain in the ass for her, like getting tied up in the system is for everyone. And otherwise, I think, she's going to have the ability to take this as far as she wants to. And I certainly have some thoughts about that.
Right. And I'm not saying anything about Etel's legal strategy or giving advice in any way. But what I'm trying to say is, like, this is a charge that you either use to put pressure on somebody to plea out for something else, or you use to keep a desperately poor person in pretrial detention. Mm-hmm. Neither of these things are the case with this because, one, there's nothing else to plead out to. It's just one charge, right?
2.
Well, okay, so still.
Yeah.
It's not like murder 1 and, right? And Etel is not a desperately poor person who is going to be stuck in pretrial detention and thus taken off the streets.
Right.
So the way that this ends, inevitably, like this, I would put all of my money on this charge doesn't stick, and then that's the biggest embarrassment of all time for Thomas Duffy. What is his end goal here?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question.
You can't even get a conviction on the charge you begged for in the press.
Yeah. What I would say, normally, if I were rolling my, I guess you don't roll a magic 8-ball. If I was doing whatever you do with a magic 8-ball, I would say that the way that this shakes out for most people is they make a deal on the obstructing charge, and the A and B on a police officer goes away. I don't know that Etel will take that deal, or that she should. And so, yeah, we'll find out. And we're going to find out right in the heart of a long, hot summer during election season.
Which is crazy, because all of these documents legally have to be public.
Yes.
The affidavit. I mean, I guess that's my first stop tomorrow morning is just to fuck straight to the courthouse, see what's on file. You know, I mean, like they're gonna have to read stuff into the record. Like, there's no way that this doesn't play out as being 10 times as embarrassing as even demanding that Etel be charged in the first place. Like, you're spending, Thomas Duffy, if you're listening to this, like can put me on retainer or something. You're spending all of your political capital right now to look like an incredibly weak piss baby. For what?
Yeah.
For whose benefit?
I have a little conspiracy theory on this front that I don't think has to be or is the whole truth, but I think might be a little bit of the truth. Someone who has been commenting very publicly and a lot about this entire incident is your old friend Bill, Walter Byrd Jr.
Oh.
I wonder if
Mount
Tom's
Rushmore
getting
of Worcester dumbasses.
Yeah. I wonder if he might be getting some advice from Walter Byrd Jr.
Dude,
and,
God bless him. If he's got Walter Byrd on retainer, he has no idea.
No. It's in case anyone doesn't know old Wally Bird. I would not take his advice. He is a loser and a failure in all endeavors, including trying to get Etel's opponent in the last election and again in this election elected, which they failed to do the last time around, and I think they will fail to do again.
Walter Byrd is one of those people that is just, he was my editor for a couple of years. I got a pretty good character download of the man. He's one of those people that's lost to negative polarization completely. Like they don't have a worldview. They have like a series of reflexes against a worldview that they've been indoctrinated to despise. They don't have, and their mind is just muddied and bogged down by that, and it's just everything just turns into a short-term just grievance sport. It's really kind of desperate. It's really kind of depressing, because they don't want for anything in this world besides seeing the people that they form their negatively polarized worldview around to fail. And in the process, they fail themselves. But Thomas Duffy doesn't have to be like that. Thomas Duffy could be fucking chasing down Armenian money trains. You know, he could be fucking. He should be one of the people that I almost got killed by on their 4-wheel drive vehicle on the part of the beach in Outer Banks where you have to drive your 4-wheeler. Like, why is he doing that? He doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like Walter Bird's got nothing going for him. Like him, Wayne Griffin, all these guys, so of course they fall into this trap. But like Thomas Duffy has it kind of made. He was the shadow king of Worcester until he opened his mouth and exposed how much of a little crybaby he is. Why would he do that? Man.
Yeah. Why indeed?
Why the fuck would you do that?
It's a question we'll have to continue to explore, and I'm sure that we will have many opportunities to do so, because that man's staying busy.
Did you not know that he just opened himself up for the entire public to be asking these questions of him for the first time ever, and they're going to do so for months now?
Yeah, it's a valid question.
Dude,
it's one I would be asking.
It's like fucking you think you're David and you think you see Goliath in front of you. but you're actually way bigger than fucking Goliath, and you're doing the slingshot and you don't let go of the slingshot, and it just comes around and it just whacks you right in the fucking nuts.
Yep.
Over and over again.
Yeah. I really don't understand it. I don't know how much of a strategic thinker Mr. Duffy is. I guess when you go ride around in a car with a bunch of your buddies and just do street rips on whoever you feel like, however you want to do them, you don't have to think too many steps ahead. You just get to employ violence and dominance however you want to.
Right.
So two things I want to mention before we wrap up. One, we started a thought and didn't finish it about the rabbi over at Worcester Chabad. I just want to name him and shame him. His name is Mendel Fogelman.
Okay.
And I want to name him and shame him because I didn't get to see what he did today. I can tell you that last year, when some of the very mild, especially in Worcester, campus protests started around the genocide in Palestine, Rabbi Fogelman showed up at a rally that we had at Worcester State, got right in the middle of everyone at the rally and started screaming at us that we were all terrorists. Literally thumbed his nose at us. I've never seen someone actually do it, but he did the little
What?
I have it on video.
Dude, that's awesome.
The reason I wanted to mention this
this is the guy. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Worcester Chabad also runs Chani's Deli, which is really unfortunate because Chani's is a great kosher deli place. Don't go to Chani's, man. You're giving a genocide apologist money. So don't go there. And then I wanted to just also bring up, sorry, this is oops, all cops yet again.
What else is there to talk about?
So there was an article I saw and immediately thought of the podcast. An article by Craig Seaman. Come on, Craig, do better. No homicides so far in 2025. Worcester Police report 16 and recorded in 2024. I'm not going to read this. We can link it. Would you believe that when there are 16 homicides, the most we've had since we've kept record, just last year, so the most since I believe 1986. Yeah. The police department kind of just got to throw their hands up and be like, I don't know, bad people out there. What are we going to do? Give us more money. Give us more toys. When there are 0 homicides so far this year, and I would say this is a very interesting timing for this article because school is about to let out. Yeah. And unfortunately, one of the most violent periods we tend to have in Worcester is right when school lets out.
Yeah, who is that? Okay, so I'm the editor of the Telegram.
Yeah.
I'm saying let's not write that article right now because we're going to look like... I'm not trying to wish anything into the ether, but this is a conversation they should have had.
Yeah, I hope it's obvious that I hope that we end this year with 0 homicides.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I don't like seeing my neighbors get killed.
But Chris, to your point, 12 homicides last year.
16,
12 of them domestics is what I was going to say. 16 homicides, 12 of them domestics. This year, 0 homicides. Last year, cops get to say, what are you going to do? This year, they get to take a victory lap, and, it comes at sort of a much-needed time. It comes when the cops really need a victory lap.
Yeah, it's an interesting timing in that regard, isn't it?
Maybe the editor and Craig Seaman were having a different conversation because it's extremely interesting timing to introduce this idea that the cops should be celebrated for the fact that no murders have occurred in this city. It becomes double interesting because, I mean, one of the baseline assumptions that we all grow up with because we see it in TV shows and stuff, and it's one of the hardest things to challenge about like the sort of the order of the imperial core is like what did the cops prevent murders from happening?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Question mark.
How does that make sense? They just don't.
Well,
especially not domestics.
Chief Saucier was happy to offer some potential explanations. I'm quoting from the article. Although no one can know why there has been no homicides in the city this year so far.
Good start.
Mm-hmm.
Good start for how we. Let me guess. He's about to prefer a reason.
Yes, indeed, and it's such a great one. Saucier says he thinks several Worcester Police Department outreach programs have contributed to the drop. We started a new program this year. This is a quote from Saucier. We started a new program this year. It's called the Worcester Police Scholar Engagement Program, and that's within the Worcester Public Schools, where we're in 32 schools, spoke to 2,000 students. Saucier says the program explores the difference between a gang and a group, myths about gang membership, and the consequences of drug involvement and social media. This is a quote. What we try to do is go to every health class in the city, 6th grade, Saucier said. We figure this is the age when we need to pay the most attention to the students because once you get to junior high, it can go either way.
What?
Yeah, so it's a program where they tell.
He said that. He said it can go either way.
It can go either way.
Dude, what a beautiful mind.
What a beautiful mind. I can tell you without perfect recollection, but some decent level of authority that as far as I remember, 0 homicides in the city of Worcester last year were committed by 6th graders. But, you know, that's you got to start somewhere, I guess.
Again, well, and interesting. Well, Chris, I just said that. I will put like I'm 90%. This is off the dome, but I'm 90% sure that 12 out of the 16 murders were domestics. Mm-hmm. And I didn't read anything in that description of the scholars program about how you treat your spouse.
No, domestic violence is not brought up in the article at any point.
Even though it accounted for 75% of the murders last year?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, domestic violence. By the way, if anyone is thinking about domestic violence and also police at the same time right now, a really fun thing you can Google is 40% of police officers. Right. That will take you to a very interesting statistic about how many police officers are spousal abusers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like somebody, not me, could allege that police are better at ensuring that spousal abuse continues to happen than they are at stopping it. Someone could say that, not me. I certainly wouldn't say that. But, you know, I think to wrap it up, we are seeing in real time right now what the actual function of the police is.
Yes, we are.
In Los Angeles, and anyone listening to this who is in Los Angeles, Chris, I know you have friends there. I know a few people in Los Angeles. I'm not very close with any of them. But I'm seeing the videos everyone else is seeing, and it's really a powder keg sort of situation. So
yeah, it's what did you say recently? It's an inflection point. It's another fucking inflection point, and if we could have a week or 2 vacation from inflection points, I would be extremely grateful. I don't see it in the cards.
No.
Summer is just kicking off. But yeah, we've got the fucking National Guard and apparently now 500 Marines from Camp Pendleton headed to Los Angeles, in addition to the obscene amount of cop resources that already exist in that city, a very, very heavily and oppressively policed city. And what are we seeing from the police there and leadership? Some sort of vague hand-waving at discomfort around this, very constitutionally interesting choice to deploy the military to an American city.
Yeah.
And not much else. Sort of at least an equal, if not outsized, scolding and condemnation of anything that looks like violence from anyone besides the state-sanctioned doers of violence.
Oh, you can only do the violence if you are wearing one of them tactical vests. Well, we got a presidential hopeful over there.
It's true.
So,
Bruce and Gavin.
If you want to be president, you have to become more cruel if you're a Democrat and if you're a Republican. There's no other way than to endorse the most authoritarian resolution to any this is a guy who was loading people's fucking tents and backpacks into fucking shopping carts last year.
Yep. And another thing I think is worth mentioning about LA, if you like to go to very dark places and explore kind of the trajectories of police militarization, one of the very convenient things that you can do if you're trying to really up your game in that regard is host the fucking Olympics, which LA is about to do.
Yeah. That's right.
That is a great time for laws to change, not in favor of people that they don't want to be out on the streets when all the tourists come. It's a great time to hire a lot more cops and get a lot more cop toys. That's coming down as well. Since we were talking about it a little bit, if any LA people or my LA buddies are listening, I'm very, very proud of you all. I love that city. I know that's it's not everyone's favorite city, but I've gotten to spend a lot of time in Los Angeles, and I really, really love the regular people that are there, and they don't take shit. And there's a lot of them, and they are standing up to some really fucking scary stuff in the streets right now, and they are making it very, very difficult for ICE to continue kidnapping their neighbors. And respect for that. I'm very proud of all of you. Yeah,
that's a great note to end on. Another cheery episode from the Outdoor Cats boys. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. Only silver lining of the stuff coming out of LA, some very, very fun new ways to use bricks.
Oh my God. Yeah. I heard someone on another podcast that I listened to today who's from LA, actually, the person who was talking about it. The podcast is called Minion Death Cult, and for that reason alone, you should check it out. It's also a good podcast.
Yeah.
But, one of the hosts on Minion Death Cult mentioned that he has never been more pleased about the crumbling infrastructure in Los Angeles as he has been to see the ready availability of broken chunks of concrete.
Yeah, and I think you sent me a screenshot or something of it. The scooters.
Yes.
Throwing scooters.
Fucking lime scooters. Yeah.
When there's a will, there's a way, and I hope we never have to find out, but we will, frankly. So. We will, Chris. We will. All right, everyone. This has been a fun episode. This has been a very fun way to get back into my working routine. I feeling refreshed after the break, and I am so stoked to be going to the Superior Court clerk's office tomorrow morning, saying, "Gimme, Thomas Duffy, you fucked up, man. Don't listen to Walter Bird. What are you doing?"
Just a theory, but just one I've been having a real fun time kicking around in my brain.
I think it's just one of those things that just has to be true. Anyway, all right, Chris.
All right, Bill.
Let's get out of this conference room that is turned to be 120 degrees.
Yeah, indeed. Bye, everybody.